Okay, I'm making you a quick little tutorial to show you what your class will look like now that it's online. So, the good news is we'll be using Canvas, which you guys have used before. You've submitted some homeworks, you've taken quizzes online. This is how we're going to have to run the class now that it's online. So, this is, we're looking at the home page for our class. What I want you to do to find the content is you're going to go to the module section. So once we click here, you'll see where the content is. How we're going to run this is, look, officially school doesn't pick back up again until April 6th, which gives us 2 weeks. Then it only gives us 4 to 5 weeks to cram a bunch of content in. So what I'd like to do is to have you guys practice for the next 2 weeks on the content that you'll see and, when the classes go live again. So what you're seeing here is a module that will be typical of the modules you will see when class starts again on the 6th. I've chosen this module because you've already learned this content. So it's not about getting you to learn new content, because technically class isn't started. It's about getting you familiar on the formatting and structure of how you will see the new material in the future. And so all of the modules will be laid out in this fashion, where there's a lecture portion up here and there's a lab portion right here. And so what you'll want to do is just start at the lecture portion. When you click that, it'll bring up this page that has some content for you to go through. Now the content will vary slightly, but typically there will be either a web link, so a place to go where there's content you can read, like an online chapter or something like that, or the PowerPoint, which you see here. You're required to go through the PowerPoint, look at any of the content that's under this lecture material heading. Right, so some photos, we've seen these in class. Like I said, it's not the content that matters at this point. It's kind of making sure you can access the content and you know what's expected of you when we go live again. So what I'll try to do too is I'll narrate some of these PowerPoints. So there'll be some more videos here of me kind of voicing over the PowerPoints, so that hopefully will be helpful for you. You could watch those, or you could ignore those and just do the PowerPoints, go through the PowerPoint yourself. There'll also be an article that I'd like you to read about tsunamis, or the heading of whatever we're covering. So you can click this link, it will take you to a new window. You will read through this content here. And then finally there'll be a video. So I want you to watch a video over the content. Each of these three, the lecture, the article, and the video, have an associated quiz that I'd like you to take once you've gone through the material and you feel like you understand it and you're comfortable with it. Now in the future, there might also be a homework that's also in this lecture portion of our class. And if that's the case, it'll just be like the homework assignments you've done, where you would have a document, let's say a Word doc, and it would ask you some questions, and you would download that Word doc. You would work your way through the questions, either typing them on the Word document and resubmitting it so that I could grade it, or you could print it out and write some stuff on it and take a picture of it and upload that. Either way would work. But this is how we're going to get the lecture material to you. And how I'm going to assess you is either through an assignment that you'll turn in that I can grade, or it'll be with these quizzes that we see here. So you want to go through the content, and as you're going through, if you're confused, if you don't understand what you're reading, watching, then this is where you send me lots of emails. You need to send me questions, concerns, things like that about the content. Say, hey, I was going through the slides, I don't understand this, I don't understand that, what does this mean? How do I do this calculation? These are the kind of questions that you'll want to ask me, so that when you do take the quiz, you're prepared to do that. But let's say you've gone through the content, you feel pretty comfortable. If you just hit this next button here, it'll take you to the first quiz. And so this is the quiz that's over what the heading on the previous page was is lecture material. So the tsunami PowerPoint and some of the videos. So look, it is a timed quiz. You will click the take quiz and it'll be like the quizzes you have already taken for me online. There will be some multiple choice. There will be some short answer. It's multiple choice. It'll be auto graded. If it's short answer, I will have to come in and evaluate that. So sometimes you may get your results quickly. Other times it'll take a day or two for me to go through them. Okay. And so you went through the content, feel good, take the quiz. You only get one chance, right? So you don't redo this. So make sure you understand it before you take it. There's also the article quiz. There's also the video quiz. And so these are the three ways you'll be evaluated on the lecture material. Once again, there may be an assignment, also a homework, where you would download a document and do the activity and then upload that to me. But for this example, there isn't. There's just these three components: lecture, article, video. Okay? You can at any time jump back to modules. So if you come back to the modules here, this main link here was that first page with all of the information on it, but you could jump to the quizzes themselves if you'd like instead of moving through. There also is a lab component to our class, and so we're going to do that online. And so when you click the lab, it's a little introduction, and then the next button will take you to the first part of the lab. So this lab is set up so there's actually two parts. We're going to look at some of the things that have occurred we've talked about in class. Once again, the content isn't the main concern here, right? It's can you work through this? So besides making this video, which is just an overview of the entire class, there is a video right here that helps you with some of the issues potentially, or how to walk through and do the lab. So you'll want to watch this. It'll help you with the lab once you are ready to take the quiz. Now look, because Canvas works it this way, it's going to say it's a quiz. How the lab is going to work here is the lab portion is not timed. You're going to work your way through the questions. So let's do that. So we'll say take the quiz. And you have multiple attempts on the quiz. So the idea is we want you to figure some stuff out. And so as you move through the lab, you're going to answer some questions here. Some are fill in the blank, as you can see. Some are multiple choice. And you'll work your way through the lab. There's some calculations. We've done these, remember. So this is stuff that we've worked on already when we covered tsunamis. But you're going to work through the lab answering these questions. When you've completed the lab, so you've gone through all the questions and you come to the bottom here, you will hit Submit Quiz. And once again, it's designed so that it'll be auto-graded. All of the labs are auto-graded. So they're either fill in the blank, so it's looking for a particular answer, or the multiple choice. And you will get an immediate score. At that point, you can then retake the lab to improve your score. You can retake the lab as many times as you would like to increase your score, and you'll only record the highest score that you get. What I would recommend as you move through here and answer the questions and then hit submit and you see that there's some errors here, this is when you reach out to me and say, oh my goodness, I have no idea what's going on. Can you help me with this part of the lab? Then I respond and help you, and hopefully then when you take it a second time, you get a better score. Everybody's happy. Okay? In this particular case, and in a lot of the labs, we are using Google Earth. So we have used Google Earth in class. It is a free program to download onto your desktop. So you will need to do that. I will put a link. Doesn't look like I have one here because this is from halfway through an online class. So I will put the link here for the download for Google Earth. You can download and install that, and you'll need that to perform this lab activity. Now, not all the labs are going to use Google Earth, but it is a useful program for us. And like I said, watch the video. What it's asking you to do here, and I know I'm kind of scrolling through fairly quickly, is it wants you to plot these points, right? These are places where the waves have moved inland, and we can plot how far in they've moved. And there's a fairly easy way to do that. You can just highlight these, copy and paste them into Google Earth. It'll put a little place mark there, and then we can go up to place mark and click place mark, and we can start plotting all these. Once you've plotted all these, then we're going to answer questions based on that information. And so, yes, this is a full-blown lab. You want to think that our labs in theory take us, when we're talking about the whole week, 2.5 hours. So this isn't something you can do in 5 minutes. This is something you're going to have to work through and do. So the first part of the lab is having you plot that data, and then you're going to evaluate it, ask some questions. But once again, there is already a video that walks through how to do this. So watch that for the lab. The key part here is that you can take the labs multiple times. You'll go through, you'll submit, see your score, and then go back and correct some of your answers and or contact me and ask me questions about how to figure out some of the questions, then go back and retake it and hopefully improve your score. Once you feel confident about your score, then you're done and you can move on. And so if I submit this, I didn't answer anything, of course, so it's not going to look that great for me. I got a 0 out of 40, not the best I've ever done for sure. And so there is a second part to this lab. And so we can go here, there's a part 2 that's worth 10 points. And for this one, it's asking you to upload. So if you take this part of it, there's instructions on what to do. Okay, once again, there's a little video on how to do it. Basically asking you to find some damage that occurred. So you're going to upload a couple images. So that shouldn't be too bad. And then finally, there will be a quiz over the lab portion. So both of the portions of the lab in this example and in the ones to come, you can take multiple times, take it, many times as you need. But once you are done with the lab portion, you will want to take the quiz. Now the quiz is a timed quiz. It's basically going to ask questions related to the lab. So look, if you blaze through the lab and you don't really know what you're doing, but you're just a good guesser and you just retake it 57 times, in theory, when you come and take the lab and take the lab quiz, you won't know how to answer those and you'll do poorly. It's kind of how the the in-person class was designed. You really need to have worked through the lab and understand it, so when you took the quiz that it made sense to you and you could answer those questions. And so this is a timed event, and you can only take it once. So make sure you feel comfortable with the lab material before you take this. You'll take the quiz, and voila, you will be done with this module. So let's go back to our module and take a look. Lecture portion, review the content, take the quizzes, done with the lecture portion. Lab, lab content is repeatable. So you're going to go through the lab, you're either going to go to some links, you're going to go to Google Earth, you're going to import some data, you're going to evaluate the data, answer the questions. Take that as many times as you need so that you understand it, and then take a timed quiz. Okay? So that's how all of the sections are going to work. So these aren't available yet, but on the 6th, we'll have a flooding module, and there will be a lecture, an article quiz, a video quiz. There will be a lab to walk through, and the format is identical. We'll do groundwater, format is identical, right? So this is why I want you to look through this module, get used to how it's laid out, play with it, make sure you feel comfortable with it. Any issues you run into, you need to contact me for sure. Now this is available currently, and of course we have 2 weeks to play with it and do all that stuff. Once we come back on the 6th, we'll actually be doing these weekly. So you'll have 1 week to complete the content. It'll always be available at 6 a.m. on Monday, and then everything will be due by Sunday at midnight. And then a new module will open up on Monday, and we'll continue that to the end of the semester. Okay, I think we've covered as much as we need to. Practice, play around with this. Send me questions, comments, concerns about it in the next 2 weeks so that hopefully on the 6th we can jump in, power through this end of the semester. Everybody will be happy. Okay? So there you go. And let me know if you have any issues.